Alrighty then. Oops. Let's just actually delete that. Move this back up here. Delete this as well. And then also I have to... Ah, nailed it. Nailed it. Kind of. Cool. Now we're ready to go. What's up, guys? Just waiting for the lobby invites. Crank usually takes like a 5-minute break between things. Thank you, Tandara, for the 2-month tier 1 sub. Trying to make a tweet as well. Our finals are Innovation 1-man team versus people who just won. Celendus and the Bugs. Perfect tweet. Don't at me. Alright, so now we have the lobby up. We do have the order of players usually for the first 4. But this is one of the weird situations where, because they didn't pre-plan, like there wasn't the advanced scheduling of this, right? Like they didn't know who their opponent was going to be, so you couldn't really send out the names. I don't know if that's what they were waiting for. I assume that's what they were waiting for, is that they were like, hey, give us the list of players that you're going to play for the first 4 games. Or if it changed because it's the finals, I don't know. I haven't been given information either. Usually they put it in Skype, but yeah, where usually you could tell you like what the first 4 matches are going to be. I don't have that information. So... okay, I won't retweet that then. But I think we are getting Innovation in the lobby, and then we're seeing who the opponent is going to be. As a reminder, for those who are like, what are the teams again? Innovation 1-man team. Innovation, Sue, Zest. At certain points in all 3's careers, they would have been the best of their race. And even nowadays, while they're not the absolute best, they're still damn good. Innovation has really lived up to his team name in some of these matches. And then the people we just watched win the best of 7 is Stats, Dark, and Solar. Big props to Dark for really, I guess, sending it home. But yeah, so it'll be no TVTs. I guess we know that much. But it's pretty nice race balance otherwise. And now we're just waiting. Yeah. I gotta imagine some of the delays because they have to get the teams all together and whatnot. Pro League style, start things off. Usually they're just given the maps. That's how it works. They're like, hey, here's the map. Who are you going to send out for it? But they still have to talk about like who, you know, who wants to play on this map? Who do we think the other people are going to play on this map? It can be a whole process, and this has all been done in advance for the other broadcasts, but not for this one. Has there been any highlight matches for you so far? Do you mean today, or do you mean in general? Because to ask me to remember the rest of the tournament, you're expecting a lot from me. If it's today in this match, then... I don't know if we've had any really fantastic games, to be honest. They've all been okay. Okay, there we go. Even provides a little graphic for it as well. So it's going to be Dark versus Innovation. That sounds awesome. Versus, on Dreamcatcher, sorry. Then there's Stats versus Sue. Solar versus Zest, which is a little less hype, but still pretty cool. And then the 2v2 would be... Kim... Scats and Solar versus Innovation and Zest. Got it. But I'll probably have to remind you guys of that as we get into it later on. Getting the wiggly jigglies. Da, 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 da. Dark vs Innovation. Some of you might be like, well, Dark is clearly on a roll today, and you know he's really good, and in general he's better than Innovation in the last 6 months. And I would actually agree with all of that, despite the tone of voice I'm using. But I would also say that Innovation seems to excel in team leagues. There was a time where he was kind of like the one hope for, oh gosh, Acer Axiom. Is that what it was? You know what I'm talking about, though, the GSTL, when he was on Acer back in the day. And he also was quite good on Samsung when he moved over to StarCraft 2. He was picked up around his prime for SKT. The point is, like, he does well, and that has not really changed. While his teammates have certainly brought their A game as well, like, there's no one really slacking. Innovation has at some point lived up to the name Innovation One-Man Team, which is obviously more of a joke than it is trying to say that he's ultimately the best. But Dark is going to be quite the opponent. And Dark really hasn't been as cheesy as I thought he would be, considering he's had 3 different games, right? 2 versus Protoss and 1 versus Terran. His versus Protoss was... Oh, no, that was Solar. No, sorry. Right, we've only had 2 games from Dark. This is going to be his 3rd game. So he had a 2-base kind of thing going on, but that didn't lead to anything aggressive. Led to just swarm host off of 3 bases, which, I mean, it was a different style, and it was more aggressive than Solar was, but anyways, nothing really happened in the Terran matchup because Kira had such great scouting. But Dark, my point is, Dark is usually the type of guy who'll throw it out in a best of 1, in a game 7, he'll do it, and that makes him really scary. So, I don't know how much he is respecting Innovation's macro play nowadays. The map also might be a problem as we're going on a Dreamcatcher. But I could certainly see Dark, whenever he joins this lobby anyways, doing something. I really thought he was going to road Ravager all in, for instance, last game, but didn't need to do that, did he? Took Kira to the macro game and just stomped all over him. At this point, if you call Innovation bogus, you're asking people to remember him in Brood War, where he wasn't even really that great of a player. On a not really great team. That's just asking a lot. He changed his name to Innovation, I think, right off the bat when they transferred over to StarCraft 2. I could be wrong, actually. I think during the Cross season, he was still bogus, and then they turned to StarCraft. And then he turned to Innovation? I'm actually not sure. At one point, Zest was P7 Gab, which if you said it in Korean means like I bathe in the blood of my enemies or something. And then he changed his name to Wookiee during the crossover season, and then he settled on Zest, and we are all very thankful about that. If he had kept his original name, it's not nearly as cool to chant, honestly. Like, P7 Gab, P7, like, that's not cool, but it's definitely better than Wookiee. Whoa, 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 STX Soul is good. Where are they, though? Where are they, though? The only reason he didn't do well is because he didn't get sent out much. I mean, you guys would know more than me, but STX Soul just never seemed to perform very well when I was watching, anyways. Which was the last 2 years of like pure Brood War, I guess. So up till 2012, something like that. But if he's not sent out very much, then I think that just like doesn't that just back up my point? If you don't get sent out much, probably he's not very good, so on and so forth. I don't know. Anyways. I probably have to change the sounds. I kind of forgot to do that. Okay, that's all good. We're finally in the game after a temporary delay. And ooh, I was talking about dark cheesing this entire time and did not mention that Terran could do that as well. In the bottom right is the blue Zerg. He is dark. In the top left is the red Terran. He is innovation, and he is proxying barracks. Ooh, look at that portrait. Ooh, wow, fancy. Yes, exactly. Last 2 years were just KT and SKT. And then STX Seoul was one of the first companies to bow out. Or was that Wujing Stars? STX Seoul was like, their company literally died, though. Zest is a cooler name than Innovation? I don't know. I actually like Innovation's name. I don't know why people give it shit. So this T-Rex is kind of funny. It's abusing this little spot, so the drones wouldn't be able to get any attacks on the SCVs when the SCV's like in that position, for instance. At least I don't think it would be able to. But the point is, it's usually safer if they end up scouting it. It's also kind of, I mean, this map's not necessarily that popular for T-Rex. There's already kind of a suspicion of where would they even send the Overlord if they were thinking you might do that. A lot of Zerg players, kind of accept that they might not be able to scout the actual T-Rex. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they send that Overlord to the, the north or whatever, and they actually see, hey, there's a bunch of barracks. But more often, I think we see a lot of Zerg players just leave the second Overlord kind of at home. If there's like a little podium, they send it there. But because it's at home, at least it has like the slightest bit of advanced knowledge that they're sending an SCV in to build a bunker. Now, seeing that it is a bunker and a single Marine, Dark should be able to infer that it's just a T-Rex, not 3 or 4. And that does change, a bit how you're going to try and respond. It also changes the expectations of the game. If this is a 4-ax, Innovation just simply blitzes into your main and tries to win. If it's a 2-ax or even a 3-ax sometimes, like, they're going to try and just kill your hatchery, take a lot of, units down with them, a lot of army down with them. And then they'll say that was pretty good for me. I hope it was good for you too. But Dark's gonna go for the Roach defense, which can also turn into an offense. If you really want to play that way. But Dreamcatcher a bit of a bigger map. Innovation doing some really nice damage. I think he's very happy with how this game has started off. I want to note also this is the 1 game out of 3 that Dark did not go for an earlier pool and gas. So just like, feels bad, man. But behind it, Dark is going for, Innovation. I'm just getting everything mixed up here. Is going for that factory, lifting up his barracks now to send back home. Not playing too greedy so far by going for a command center on the low ground or at all yet. And the bunkers, well, they might be broken. They took out the hatchery. They're going to be able to take out a decent number of units, probably, unless there's some really sick micro and no counter micro from Innovation. And then he'll just be happy to know, okay, it is roaches, so that's, some scouting going on as well. Especially with the barracks now floating in. I was gonna say, sending both barracks back home is a little weird, but there's the barracks now. And he'll know it's a really long map, so even if the Ravagers try to initiate a counter, he could probably get a couple of Cyclones and however many Hellions you would need. Okay, so there wasn't much counter micro. Like, he could have maybe jumped on this one Ravager cocoon, for instance, but instead just gives up the bunker, runs back home. Zara on his way home with a couple of Marines. Overlord's going to die, and this is important for a few reasons. One, it barely sees it is going to be a starport with the tech lab on it. But the two, if it hadn't seen that, well, it also just doesn't... it doesn't provide any high ground now. So that is the one thing that Dark would have really needed if he was going to try and really push the counter, is high ground vision. Otherwise, he's walking up into potentially, a Cyclone Marines, and he better hope that he just simply has more army, which at this point is still kind of a question mark. Like, does he have more army to actually push through? Nah, not with the Banshee on the way. Nah, never mind. If it was just the Marines and the Cyclone, like, you could maybe try and tango, but it's just a single Banshee, very defensive, no cloak, no second Banshee, and there's absolutely no way this would have been worthwhile losing his Ravagers, which are kind of costly. The Roaches and then they turn into Ravagers, those things are expensive. This Banshee also could go ahead and scout for the 3rd base. It's the only thing that Innovation has scouting now that his barracks has died. Might be worthwhile, but you got to be really careful, because the one silly thing to have happen is to simply lose track of the army. Because right now Innovation doesn't know up the 3rd. There could be 15 more Roaches on the way, now paired up with Ravagers, and if the Banshee goes over to scout, misses that entire army. We've actually seen Terrans lose just because of that, just because they didn't have a Banshee tagging the army the entire time. So it's a little scary, But Innovation is going to be the one who's just better off here. He's up 3 workers, which you account for the mules that he's now going to be able to drop off of 2 bases. He's already on his way to a 3rd, about 80% done. He's got a solid defense out with a tank on the high ground and no overlord nearby just to allow for corrosive biles. And this is looking just really good for our Terran. Now, Dark, I mean, he's going to try and play this out, right? All it takes, really, I think, is one really good engagement from him. You know, Innovation being a little too confident and pushing in, not abusing the ledges correctly. And Dark could maybe have his way back into this game. But it's, you know, obviously a big maybe. Dark is just taking damage from the early game. Simple as that. Banshee gets a little confident there. What are you doing? What are you doing? And now Dark is full on into the drones. He's looking better at 8 above, but it's still not very good. Innovation did not spend too much time on getting a lot of tech units. You can see even kind of skipping, pushing off, rather, the 2nd tank. It's potentially greedy, but in this case, he's going to have a decent amount of marine production, takes his 3rd base without any headaches, and is going to not just have a mobile marine force of decent numbers with stim, but he's also going to have that drop force, right? There are players out there who would be very just like turtle mode right now, like, oh my god, I hope Dark doesn't do anything to me. But Innovation is taking those appropriate cuts here and there. They'll probably, there we go, start off tanks soon enough, but point is, a little more emphasis on the Marines. Now, as soon as he has 60 Marines and stim, he can just, 1 medevacs, obviously. There we go. He can go for the drop and feel somewhat confident. Maybe break down the rocks just to get rid of one pathway for Dark to try and abuse, but he is just moving forward, not even dropping. We do have Dark, by the way. It's something that Innovation also has to kind of scout and confirm. He's not sticking on Roaches and Ravagers. He is going to link Baneling. He's adding on Infestation Pit as well. We'll see. I mean, that should be for just really fast Hive. Maybe a bit of like a Hail Mary, like assuming Innovation won't push until a certain time, so you try and fit that in there. It could help. It could just be, I don't know. It could be too greedy, really. And I'm also not even certain that getting fast ultras would even help that much, because there's only be a few of them. You still have to wait for chitinous plating, all that good stuff. I don't know. There's the Hive, though. Actually, you know what? I would love for this to be more about the Vipers, and I think that's what it's going to be for. Even though fast ultras can be scary, like they don't expect them, so they don't have the proper composition, they just have to pull back. Great, you bought yourself another minute or so. They could just be like, oh, you only have 3 ultras? Well, let me just snipe them down, even though I have pure marine, right? But if you get Vipers, well, that's just fantastic against most of the Terran's army compositions nowadays, right? They're mostly on the tank hype train, not the Widowmine. And it's also very useful on a map like this, where even though Dark's creep spread is very good, he's also deflecting the drops pretty well so far, there's still a decent amount of positions that tanks will abuse, and if you get to Vipers, well, oh, whoops-a-daisy. This Marine just walked through the Banelings. Medevacs get taken care of. Very few units were made to defend against that, although more are being made now, as Dark has gotten up to 71 drones, so he's able to tag both armies. Dealing with 1 drops that successfully is just such a weight off of Dark's shoulders. Otherwise, he would not have been able to take this base, I'm pretty sure. Innovation definitely slipping up there. Almost slipping up again over here. This is, by the way, him knowing that it is Bling Baneling. He got into the main, but I don't know if he got close enough to see the Hive. He did not. He did not. So there is the Viper start. No Ultralisk. That's what I wanted to see. That's what I was hoping he would do, and that's exactly what he does. Dark's a smart cookie. Now he gets the Ultralisk Cavern, but I feel like that's now because he's on such a great economy. He's deflected the drops on a 5th base. Like, okay, but I like the emphasis was on at least 1 Viper. At least 1. And his upgrades as well. If Innovation was doing a 3-base push, he'd be coming along now, and he might have gone for even more Vipers had he seen that. But all I've seen so far is a bunch of drops. He might be assuming that Innovation's going for that 4th base, and while it's not extremely fast, like what Cure was doing, it's a little offset by maybe the game that's been happening, but also, yeah, just not quite into that supreme late game like Cure and some other Terrans have been doing. But definitely with the, you know, ultimate end goal. Innovation's not going to try and win with 3-base all-inning. He's getting a composition that will deal with the Ultras somewhat well. You know, maybe see Liberators once to get to a decent medevac count. Thank you, Monstro14 for the 11-month resub. Oh, that is a huge Ling run by. Although it just stops the command center and doesn't actually do anything. So never mind. Not that cool. Innovation having a very, very decent... Like, that's a lot of tanks. That's abusing that position I was highlighting earlier on because the creep potentially wasn't that fantastic over to the left side. But here we go. Finally, the Lings do some damage. The army is forced to pull back. Reinforcements are forced to pull back. Well, there's a decent amount of reinforcements already there. He actually landed his command center. No! Oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. He could have just kept that thing lifted. But can Dark survive the push? That is the main question right now. 3 bases is still totally workable for Innovation. He gets Dark's 4th, and just by having his position here, he's kind of almost guaranteed to get the 5th if he just went and checked. If he just went and checked for it, but he's not checking for it. There he goes. He sees the creep spread, so he should. He's unsieged all of his tanks. That might have been a mistake. 1 tank goes down. 2nd tank almost gets target fire, but actually the tank target fire on Dark's army was just too damn good. All of the banelings really... Most of the Lings get targeted down. Damn good right there. The 5th base does fall. Now Dark already on his way to a gold base, kind of just hoping that he can hopscotch his way over to the right side. Would be great if he had an army that could defend against this, but I'm really afraid Dark does not have chitinous plating, and even if he did, the army is just simply not that big that Innovation would be impossible to target down those ultras. We're looking at the army right now. That is an army that you would clearly be able to target fire down. Tanks on top of the banelings, even with the blinding clouds coming down, they're just not covering every single tank. Really good split from Innovation. The ultras, as I said, not with that kind of split and get ripped apart instantly anyways. GG. Innovation does take game number 1. Whoops. So just using Stream Deck, and I hadn't actually. Oops. Oops. Awkward. There we go. I don't actually have BaseTradeTV scenes up on my Stream Deck, so. Oops. Now this is the Pro League style part of the Team League, so while Innovation takes the first game for his team, it is, it's not him sticking around. We're going on to... Hold on here. Sue versus Stats. Oh my god, I was awake before KSL started. Oh. Thank you, Brioff, for the 19-month resub. There's still a pylon show graphic in game. What? You're right, there is. Oh, because I used... That's right. I set up a scene for Brood War, but then I just used the regular in-game scene for the StarCraft 2 part of the show match. That's awkward. Should all be gone now. Will there be a second season? That is something that I would not know. I have no idea how successful Crank has thought it's been, how much work it's been. I'm gonna guess a fuck ton. Even though I think he has Holy Moly helping him with like the administration stuff. Team leagues in general are just usually not very easy to do. It's really cool that he was able to put it on, that he thought of a style of tournament as well that would kind of compensate for what would be a generally lesser amount of players, you know. by having 3 players instead of 4, he has one more team. That tends to make a bigger bracket, stuff like that. Okay, we're getting an acid plant. It's all a lot of work. It's all also dependent on like whether these players want to do it again as well, right? And while they might be okay because it's kind of getting to the off season, maybe when we get back into the GSL happening next year, they won't want to do it. So I don't know. It would be really cool though that, I mean, showing how successful I think this has been. All the players have shown up. Things have started on time. There's only been a few different changes of the schedule that, I mean, if Blizzard's watching, it would be really cool if they maybe supported this to give Koreans another way of showing their skill, because there's sometimes there's not many. There's 1 or 2 tournaments that are happening. They don't have an English broadcast as well, for instance. I know people always bring up the stuff that the Koreans do, but yeah. Thank you, Royal Prospecting, for that 5 gifted subs. Yeah, 5. Thank you. In the top left, as we get into game number 2, it is the Blue Zerg Sue. His team is up 1. In the bottom right is the Red Protoss. It is Stats. He is the Selendis to the Bugs. I got a ZVP on our hands. On Acid Plant. I'm not sure who would win this. Stats didn't look particularly strong against the last Zerg player he faced. What happened in that game? I can't remember that game. I just remember Stats losing. Oh my god, what happened in that game? I can't even think of who he faced. Jesus. It was only like 30 minutes ago. Wait, was it a ZVP? Am I just completely like forgetting anything that ever happened ever? I feel like I am, actually. Good lord. Stats versus Cure was a PVT. Gee, lordy. Okay, well, Trap was the one that played PVZ as well as Classic, I guess. Cure. Kira actually played against Stats. Okay, well. I do remember, now that I remember who he faced, how that went down, but it's not really worth talking about because it's a completely different matchup. So while that was lost by a proxy, not, handling it well, not scouting it well, ZVP is an entirely different beast. I hope that Stats, I think that Stats is going to do better here than in his game versus Cure. As, actually, like, I would consider, I feel like his PvZ's been his best for a while. And I don't know, like, Sue is so good, and he's probably prepping a lot for BlizzCon, but I definitely think Stats is a shot here. And he needs it. He needs to give his team a little bit of a boost. Not contributing so far. We have a Stargate opener versus a typical 3-hatch speed for Sue. He does not see the Stargate because it's in the main base. Adept's gonna try and scout, make sure nothing's happening. I guess we get to the main base. So a really decent scout. Sees only a certain number of lings. Enough to deal with a single adept. That is how this matchup is played. And a Phoenix first is going to be Stats' choice. He'll get rid of that Overlord easy peasy. Probably get this Overlord as well, if I had to guess. And it will alert Sue to the presence of a Stargates. That's something that most Zerg players are well informed about anyways. They're just going to default, get a Spore Crawler, and have their queen in the proper position. Rip Sue only 2 in gas. Well, that probably was on purpose. I don't know. It could be accidental. It might mean to only have 1 in gas or 0, but... Or maybe all 3, but I don't know. I'd say it's on purpose. Oh, Baliness is on the way. That's how he's gonna play it. Spore Crawlers are now on the way too, and while I guess you could argue you don't really need one yet at the 3rd base because you have 2 queens. With the Phoenix around, that's not necessarily true. Phoenix just lifts 1 queen and there you go. Some drones are gonna lose their lives. Spore Crawlers is definitely the safe way to go. Decent number of lings just patrolling around, guarding the common pathways, wanting to make sure adepts don't surprise him. Maybe he wanted one over here as well, but also enough to kind of check up on that 3rd base. Should Stats take it pretty quickly. There's a lift up I was talking about. The Oracle went for the drone kills, but because the Spore Crawler was there, only got 2 and then had to skedaddle. Queens were also not too far away. Oh yeah, okay, you brought the natural queens. So really nice defense so far. Now Stats did get extra gateways already. Here comes an Adept attack that Sue wanted to be kind of cautious about, right? He wanted to have enough links prepared to stop them before they got into the mineral lines, and because of some decent scouting, he certainly will. Also starts up his +1 melee, has Lair on the way, eventually gonna get difficult hooks. Stats did kind of delay his third base a little bit, you know, getting the priority of the text, Twilight Council Forge before the third Nexus. And considering that he was potentially going to attack with his units that we see here now defending it, yes, that makes sense. Charge and +1, not too surprising to see. We now have triple Oracle going for the drone kills, but very nice pull away from Sue. About as quick as possible. Tries to focus fire as well on the 1 weak Oracle. Well, now it's weak anyways. Doesn't quite work out. Now, 3 Oracles. All right, I always want to bring this up whenever I see 3 Oracles, whether it's versus Zerg or versus Terran. That is a lot of money in gas. That is, that's a Robo. That's 2 Robos, right? That's Robo and a Twilight Council. Oh, shit, I missed all the Banelings. Well, my point of the Oracles is that while it does take away from maybe this, that, or the other, you now have what is supposed to be very good scouting, as well as, if it's not scouting, at least you have some good DPS, right? Against Ling Bailing specifically. Now, there weren't any probes there, but there was that stacked up group of army. Actually, there might have been a couple probes, 7 go down. But there was that stacked up group of adepts, right? So that was probably an efficient trade for Zerg. Let's check the resources lost. Actually, not even close. Never mind. I might have been wrong about how many units were there then. Or I actually just probably am wrong about how many unit stats I already lost, right? Yeah, so not necessarily worth. Maybe a little too early. Maybe should have waited for even more probes. Actually, I read that wrong. God, it's too early in the morning. That's 7 drone kills and 7 probe kills. Oh, there's the probe kills. I was just seeing the future, guys. Don't worry about it. Now the Oracles are back here. Ling should never be a problem ever again. But because they're back here, is there enough scouting going down? Phoenix is going to just... Yeah, he's going to get into the natural. Yep. Nicely done. So Spire is not going to be a secret. We have Banelings, Hydras, +2 on the way. But we also have a Spire. Now that it's been scouted, how much does Sue really put into it? 4th base is done. 68 drones, 62. I mean, things are actually looking kind of hunky-dory for the macro game. And we have more Phoenix being produced since he realized it's a Spire. So be careful not to overproduce, but I don't think that's something we have to be worried about. Not really a necessity to get Blink unless you thought they were really going to all in with that. You know, go for just pure Muta. So just working on what is usually an anti-ground composition, Storm, +2 weapons. Do we even have any Mutas going to be started? Looks like no, not so much. I mean, if there's a pesky War Prism, maybe he builds a few. If there's an open opportunity where he thinks that, you know, maybe Stats is a little too confident in his defenses, well, you know, maybe. But, you know, shield battery and a cannon doesn't get much better defense against that. You know, you're gonna have to get a lot of mutas to actually break through and kill probes. So probably not worth investing into since it's no longer a surprise. And then we just go into the regular stuff here and talk about, you know, how's the positioning gonna go down. Stats is worried about the same thing. How's the positioning gonna go down? So he's got stasis traps everywhere, basically. Another benefit of having that many oracles is you probably have a lot of stasis traps. Which one was just... Oh. This is a kind of a thing... Look at the big army. That stasis trap would have been useful. But he's got 2 more on the left side, where Sue is trying to maybe go into, decides not to. War Prism does drop off the units at a pretty critical juncture. Sue is kind of getting ready to set up an attack, and then, well, now that he's having to pay attention back at home, deciding not to do it. That War Prism's not quite that far back. Well, because that's a plan. There wasn't much space for it to be pushed back. Maybe Stats could have saved that if he had escaped immediately. But it looks like Stats is just thankful it took the army off his back. As he now goes for the 4th base. Oracle does find the tag on the army this time, because for a while there, Sue was kind of getting away with just moving around with his army scot-free. We now open up all different pathways. No stasis traps over at the 4th base. I am a little scared for how Stat's going to be able to control this. He has a lot of storms, but not a lot of force fields. Only 1 sentry in there, so Force Fields or Guardian Shield, there's got to be a choice made. Lots of Zealots going down. I guess they're going to set up for a run by, but instead just get taken out. Not too efficiently. One Stasis Trap is popped, but on a majority of Lings, not catching quite any Banelings. Yeah, Lings over here as well. Now, while Banelings are obviously going to be the big blue and probably the most important thing about these engagements, sorry, Lings are also going to be very helpful. It's at least something taken away, but that Nexus has to be, well, canceled or killed, and this is scary stuff. We got those Lings coming out of the stasis, wrapping around some of the Templars on the backside. Well, they don't kill them nearly as quickly as Banelings would have. They do take all of them out or force them to become Archons. A couple last-minute storms, though, do take care of the rest of the army, and Sue backs away before he loses what was a good 6 or 7 Hydras there. But having taken care of the Warp Prism, having them muted as an option anyways in case another Warp Prism pops out, Sue is kind of in control of this game. Stats lost a decent chunk of army there while not saving his 4th base, so that's not a great sign. It's not a great place to be in. He could still take a very good engagement for the next time. The Storms really get some key hits. Maybe a Stasis Trap is even more effective, but it's not looking that great as Sue is not quite remaxes, but already has a 2nd attack ready to go. More Banelings being made, just wave after wave of Banelings, making sure the Storms would not get the perfect hits they would be looking for anyways. They also do have that +2, so all it needs, 1 Baneling is all that's needed to kill all of those probes. But that Stasis Trap to the north does collect all of the, I think that was the 3rd wave of Banelings, was it? And they were headed right towards the High Templars, so nice little stasis right there. Archons will be better off soaking them than the High Templars will. Hey, yeah, okay. Doesn't even look like Sue was controlling them, probably just continued to be on the same hotkey. Phoenix might have been seen and confused for Zealots, I'm not sure, but Sue has a little task force of defense over here. I don't know how the chat has gone on to shit. Damn it. Okay, one Baneling did eventually glide into the probes. Not sure how the chat has gone on top of Final Fantasy conversation, but I wish I could join in. Let's not talk about Final Fantasy X-3, because that's guaranteed to be a disaster. Phoenix are found and killed. That doesn't seem like a lot, and it honestly seemed like Stats just forgotten about them. But one, it kind of opens up opportunities to build mutas, which I don't think Sue would do this late in the game, but just throwing it out there. But then two, it does lose out on some harassment, some help. It's units, right? It may not be the most important units 12 minutes into the game, but they're just freebies. Sue's gonna be happy to take care of that. Now, Stats does have his 4th base saturated, and while he lost a couple probes here and there, it's still 66, so that's rather good. But Broodlords are already on the way, and that's something that Stats is not yet prepared for. If the 4th base had come down securely a bit earlier, maybe he's already thinking about adding on that additional technology as he starts to get a decent ground army. But, it's maybe now he builds the Fleet Beacon. Maybe. Loses to Immortals instead. It'd still be rather late. Those could have been Banelings, so nice Stasis Trap. A couple of Zealots find a couple of Spine Crawlers, so Stats just not really able to really pull Sue back. He's also not getting any scouting on those Broodlords. I'm not even sure where they are. There they are. Now we have the Fleet Beacon. There he goes. Yeah, I think this is one of those things where, like, if he had just been able to secure a ground army and a base faster, he would have already at least had the Fleet Beacon done. Now he has to deal with Broodlords without the help of Tempest or Carriers, and while the Storms and the Archons did a couple of shots on them, Storms more so than the Archons, that was only one part of the Zerg army, and they didn't even kill the Broodlords. This is it for Stats. Couldn't quite keep up with the mid-game, and then fell drastically behind when it came to the late game. His Zealots finally do find something considerable, an entire hatchery, but he loses his Nexus. He cannot deal with the Broodlords. Stats GG's out, and Sue takes the game number 2 for Innovation, one-man team. How can you read chat and cast? And it's not that hard. What's hard is muting my mic when I want to type to chat. That requires some serious APM. I don't know what's up with stats lately. I couldn't tell you. Actually, I have no idea. But he has been underperforming. I mean, the cure thing, the, proxy, lol, keck, but that wasn't a particularly good game, I feel. It wasn't, like, extremely bad, but it was one of those, like, oh, I think Sue was just the best player today. Anyways, I don't know. Solar versus Zest is our last Pro League style match, and then we get into the 2v2. If Zest wins this, that pins all the hopes and dreams on a 2v2 to bring it back for Selendis and the Bugs. Now, Selendis and the Bugs were the guys that came in from the losers bracket, which I don't believe gives them any advantage. We didn't do anything with that, I'm pretty sure. But it does mean that they've struggled a little bit more, right? Innovation's one-man team has really been quite good in this team league to get all the way to the finals and just, patiently wait for the losers. Summer Cup hype for Final Fantasy 7 Remake? Not really. Final Fantasy 7 was not my jam. And I also feel like people are drastically underestimating how different it's going to be. The mere fact that you will have acting, and, like, different camera angles is going to drastically change the game. And we all know at this point how Square likes to use updated technology, updated storytelling, and I gotta say it's very weeaboo. So I'm not that hyped, but of course I'll buy it and play it. Oops, I gave the wrong. There we go. In the bottom left, team up to 0. It is Scythe Zest. In the top right, as the blue Zerg, it is Solar. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name. Thank you, Mathrath, for that 12-month resub. Yeah, stats will kind of look like wonky online, and they'll do something like almost win GSL versus the world, so I try not to pin too much on it. But a lot of people are looking good in every single game I've seen that are prepping for BlizzCon. Rogue, for instance, and it's like a little worrying. Could be an action RPG like 15 was. If it's... Oh, okay, sorry. But that's the thing, is that I think that it will be. They already confirmed they're changing. It's not like it's going to be a, ATB. they just really can't get away with that anymore. As someone who actually likes playing old-fashioned RPGs and would love to have it with a regular old system, I will admit that they just won't appeal to as many people if they do it. Random battles and all that. But then I wouldn't even, because, the thing is, I don't like 15's action. I thought it was really dumb and just kind of all over the place. Even if they had, a really good action system, you think about the best action RPG you can think of. If they had that system, I don't think it would matter nearly as much, because Final Fantasy's always been about storytelling, and I just let's combine all the things we know about what Square has done as we watch this game unfold in a totally normal way. We have Final Fantasy 7 Advent Children. I always forget if it's Advent Rising or Advent Children. Advent Children, where the voice acting was fine. I didn't really bother me that much, but it was forced to accommodate for the Japanese, right? Which always makes it a little bit more awkward. And also was just it's like the start of how weeby Square was going to be. And then we have 15, where the voice acting, again, is fine, but the dialogue is a lot to be desired. And it's a very weeby type of story, so... I mean, those two things combined, I don't expect many things from the remake. You know what I expect? I expect to have Cloud defy physics and be thrown up continuously by his teammates to defeat the final boss. Now, that doesn't happen, well then, it's just wasted money in my opinion. And now we do have something a little different going on here. Not a Stargate opening. Zest a little less about the Stargate openers and his Protoss brethren, like stats. A lot more about those Archon drops, really. And he was, I think, one of the first guys bringing back the Dark Shrine. We saw Classic do this earlier against... I don't remember. It wasn't Solar, I don't think, but it was the other Zerg. Anyways, and it didn't really work out with Dark. That's who it was. And it didn't really work out that well. Dark was, he got like a little bit of an earlier lair. He immediately got an Overseer. This is no longer a, oh, you brought that back type of build. It's, believe it or not, kind of going back to, well, of course I would expect Dark Shrine. Why wouldn't I? Because for, you know, a very long period of time, that's what it was. Like, newbie players would be like, oh, a Dark Shrine, oh, how cheesy, and everyone else would be like, no, this is totally normal. It's kind of going back to that, where if Solar doesn't expect, at least somewhat, kind of have some caution against a Dark Shrine, that's a bit on him. You know what I mean? And I'm looking around, I only see one Spore Crawler. There is, okay, that's probably the most important one. They're most likely going to attack the third first. Maybe the main, less so about the natural, but I was looking around for the lair and I just didn't see one, so that's why I was worried. I know this is kind of funny because you warp in Dark Templars, Lings can't do anything about it, but you do reveal that it's Dark Templar because, well, what else is the Warprism doing there? But the Spore Crawler's around, we got Queens, we got Lings. This is, oh, okay, he's gonna die for a Queen here. Okay, good defense, but also Zest is now just gonna turn him to Archons and be fine. He did go for a second War Prism. That's far more important than whenever the first one did. We'll see if he tries to dive with DTs in the main, where... Oh, the Spore Crawler's moved over to the left side. Ooh, really nicely done by Solar, actually. Might get a couple shots. Nope, just kidding. Or if he goes straight for the Dark Templar. Oh! I did not think the detection range would be that far to the left. I was wrong. Okay, then. So really nice positioning there from Solar, who's also trying to deflect the attack on the right side. Now that he has some sturdier roaches to help out, he is protecting his queens, and they're focus firing the Warp Prism. So far, so good, but kind of for both players, right? Like, what we're looking here, and Zest's opener did not do as much as it could have. It's also not dying, and Zest is kind of particularly good at that. Oh, I should have recall. Ah, saves the probe. He's particularly good at just using his Archons and almost having perfect games with them. So while it's not a perfect game for either player, he hasn't really lost a whole lot. And that's the most important thing, is that your Warp Prism's alive, your Archons continue to potentially do damage. The one thing you really gotta be worried about, though, is that the Zerg player could just, like, make roaches and not stop making roaches and just force you to come back home. Turns to a bit of a weird game sometimes, then sometimes the Zerg also just kind of wins if you lose track of how many roaches they're building. Not this game, though. Solar is just deflecting what he can, macroing while he can, getting a Hydralist den. Fourth base will come down probably once he has Hydras, I guess, because he doesn't want to just get that canceled immediately with the Archons sharking around. This 4 Archon drop, a little scary, almost loses a Warp Prism. The weak one was at the front, that's a little unideal. Third base is now being taken, but this is not... I mean, it's not unusual. It's maybe not the most usual. I think so far every game on Blue Shift we've seen... Well, the one game we saw on Blue Shift today, it was taken to the north. So Solar might be like, hold on, where's your third? But it's going to see it soon enough. Considering there hasn't been any charge-out warp-ins from the Warp Prism, I think he'll be okay. But speaking of charge... Where is it? Zest is banking enough to start it. And I don't see a reason why you wouldn't go for it. I'm hoping he didn't think he started it and then didn't have enough money or something like that. But that is... I mean, either that or Resonating Glaives. Like, something here. And I'm really starting to get quite concerned about that. I think I just forgot it, man. That's really weird, though. Because, like, +1 charge is just, like, it's right there in your brain, man. I don't even play Protoss. And, like, I at least do that every time I play it. So that's very odd. And then if you think you already have charge on the way, you don't really go back to check your Twilight Council because you don't get Blink or Resonating Glaives past that. Ooh. Ooh. And there's no reason he would notice there's no charge. But he's also not warping in Zealots, which is why I'm like, is this on purpose? His Templar Archive's certainly not the fastest he could have gone for, so there's like a potential. He really just wanted to, but he's banking, so like, why would that... I don't know. Continued Archon harassment is getting the army trades here and there. As you can see, Solar has gone from being down in resources lost to being now triple that of Zest. Well, Zest has only lost like that stalker that got taken out, right? So kind of like a perfect harassment game, but I'm not quite sure about the macro. And I'm just like, if this is on purpose, why? No, he warps and zealots. All right, so it's definitely a mistake. It's just, it's gonna be a very awkward one indeed. Oh, that second warp prism is actually alive. It's scouting. It's a scouting second warp prism. Archons would love to take out a Spore Crawler just to open up more avenues later on. Also keeping tabs on the army. Oh, Zealot, why? You didn't even have charge. Why'd you move? Dumbass. Stupid Zealot. Has he not noticed? Can he just like notice right now? Can he just do it? I don't know. This seems like a big deal. I think Zest might lose this game because he didn't have charge. Throwing it out there. I'm saying it. I think he did. GG. The macro behind this, not necessarily that great. Also, he lost track of the army. So, before we get too much up on the Zealot hype train, which he still doesn't even start it. Come on now. His storm felt particularly late, and he lost track of the army with his fancy Archon maneuverings to the north. So, GG. That was a weird game. It's like if you just watch the Warp Prism and the resources lost, you're probably like, oh, Zest is playing an amazing game. And then if you actually look to see if the person was macroing correctly, you're like, this pro gamer who got like second in GSL like didn't actually macro that well. That's weird. That's super weird. I don't know, man. I don't know. There is definitely a conscious decision made from Protoss about like how fast they get stormed, so I'm like not even really gonna critique that. I don't have enough authority to critique that, but the not charge thing, man. I don't know. There's even a time where it felt like some Protoss were intentionally not going for storm. That also felt like it was not a great idea. I don't know. Thank you, Bert M80 for that tier 1 3-month resub. It suddenly got really hot in my room. I guess like the heater turned on or something? I don't know. Weebish is another word for someone who has different hobbies than you. No, it's not. I love how like... And I don't know, I haven't heard the entire conversation, so I don't mean to like bully you. But... when I, like, people say, like, when Tasteless says, like, you know, bunch of nerds or, like, something like that, or I was saying it yesterday on my stream, where you say weebs, and people are like, oh, it's 2018, like, nerd isn't an insult anymore. It's like, well, duh. That's not really the yoke, man. You're not in on the jokes in 2018. You call people nerds, call people weebs. You're affectionately degrading yourself most of the time. In a very affectionate manner. As someone who was a weeb. Now, if you call someone a weeaboo directly, and you're kind of like, man, you're really a weeaboo, you're also not even talking about their hobbies. Weeaboo to me, if you're going to use that term, like, actually legitimately as an insult, is more of your social conduct. Because, let's be honest, a weeaboo is that person on anime conventions that likes to glomp people. And no one likes that person, really. Or if they do, they're also glompers, so I don't know. Thank you, Toblas Boone, for the Twitch Prime sub. Please don't use the W slur. We're on to the 2v2. Zest was unable to get that 3-0 for his team, so it's 2-1. Now, that would mean, if Stats and Solar were to lose this 2v2, that only Solar would be able to be revived. It'd be a 3-1 situation to start off with, right? And then also, he's the only one that won from the initial Pro League style. If they win, well then, they get to choose from any of their teammates as well as have like, another life, which is always better than having one less life. That's how it works, guys. But alright, on the top left, is there even a scoreboard? There is. Wow. The top left, For Team Selenis and the Bugs, it is stats. Nope. Shoot. Damn it. My bad. I was reading this, and I shouldn't have read that. The top left for Innovation Woman team, it is Zest, sending out a probe very, very early. Just for a scout, though. And his teammate Innovation. In the bottom right, it is Selenis and the Bugs, stats, and Sola. So we got TP versus ZP. Always gotta have a Protoss, though. Pretty strong, pretty good. Phoenix, importantly, very good. Glomp's chat. Oh, God. What is a glomp? Oh, you sweet children. One is only allowed to glomp one's friends. I would even... I mean, if they're okay with it, I guess. But, The Order of Operations, Nerd, Geek, Weeb, Zerg, Protoss, Terran. Excuse you, good sir. If you want to like anime, you need to be able to like trash. I feel like, you know, StarCraft fans will call each other nerds and whatnot, kind of jokingly. Anime nerds are really the most self-deprecating of us all. They just are willing to accept that they are... They will even call themselves trash, like, even eagerly, it feels. And it was a mistake. No. Stargate to Stargate, that's what we want to see from Protoss. Anything else is a little, I mean, it's not bad, but it's not as good as it could be. And we have Innovation going for a 2-1-1. Yes, that's what he's doing. And then Solar is, well, Solar's doing Zerg things, which is mostly Macaron. Where's the Reaper? Here, there it is. Glomps must be consensual. Yeah, but if you're gonna shout Glomp, even if I don't mind a hug from you, I would be like, no. No, no! Well, this is some weird Adept micro going on here. For those who don't know, because you really don't see it that often, even in like a 1v1 PvP, Adepts are blocked by buildings, Adept shades, sorry, are blocked by buildings, and by other Adept shades. So there is some weird micro going on here. That Stats was denying Zest's scouts. That's, didn't want to see if it was a Phoenix, I guess, and also didn't want to maybe lose 1 or 2 probes if the Adept had been able to shade that far in. Over here we have an Overlord that was, whoa, that is a huge tree, man. That tree is just, whoa. It's actually kind of freaking me out. Tree's really big. Anyways, another Stargate on the way. It's really just 2v2 is who can support their Phoenix the best. I think it's Terran, especially because most Zergs are hesitant or unlikely to go for fungals, and that's what we saw. Last series, we had Stats and Solar playing together. Stats lost the Phoenix War, and that was a huge problem. The other problem was that Solar just could not compete with Kyr's army on the grounds. For one reason or another, there was just not enough creep spread, there wasn't enough economy, like whatever, right? But it was the way that things went down, made the final fight look very one-sided, but this time, maybe not so much of a good start. I don't believe any Protoss player is winning the Phoenix War quite yet. I would be correct on that, not really. So we'll see how the TVZ goes down for the other two guys. Posting that's me talking to a girl in my life. Yeah, that's really weird, man. You know what's weird? People are gonna be like, oh, he's just, you know, he's shy or, you know, awkward or whatever, and I guess that's all true. But it's weird to me because as someone who never was like, oh my god, the opposite sex, I'm just like, maybe if you just like treated girls like you would friends, they would talk to you like other humans. Like, that's a really weird concept, man. I feel there's no reason to actually just only have one friend, sex friend, that didn't come out right, gender friend, there we go, over the other. Sex friends are very different. Anyways. Combat Shields, 3rd CC. I mean, really not much going on so far. Neither Phoenix player really wants to dive out and find out what the other person's doing because they want to make sure that they're also supported by their partner, and whoever's offensive could miss out on the defensive properties. So while we finally have the Phoenix being just a little bit, they're courageous, they're getting their feet wet out in the middle of the map, they're also being very careful. Yeah, you're not really going to want to engage, even if you think you might have more Phoenix by 1. You don't really know. And you don't know where their teammate is. Sorry, you don't know where their teammate is. So, like, there could be Hydras in the brush or something like that. Well, I don't mind you quoting me on that because I think that's also true. Now, the Marines are now coupled with the Phoenix, so this is where things get spicy. Scan reveals there are Banelings on the way, but once again, Solar going for a later lair in 2v2s than he usually would in like a 1v1 is very far away from centrifugal hooks. That is a little worrying. But Innovation not really taking the time to clear up some creep. Could be Solar's best friend. Actually dealing with a bit of a very tiny little run by here. Barely even worth mentioning, really. 3 base to 3. That isn't ideal for the Zerg play. It's not ideal, but pretty even game so far. One thing that the Phoenix can do is allow for drops to successfully unloads, but Innovation's not going to go for that. Innovation also going for tanks, not Widow Mines. That'll be great versus the ground army of the Zerg, but won't be able to help out versus the Phoenix, obviously. But that's okay, because you got enough Marines. They'll do the job anyway. I don't know, man. These guys just really don't want to fight each other. So let's talk more about sex friends. You got sex hair. Oh, all I need in my life is anime and my pillow. Well, as long as it makes you happy. Some people really are just socially awkward, though. But my point kind of is like, you might, you know, you're either socially awkward to both sexes, or you actually just have this weird mentality about the opposite sex. Or maybe you're the weird odd person out who doesn't like their own gender. Like, I don't know, but the point is. Because, like, on the flip side of, like, oh, a guy who never talks to girls, that stereotype, there's that girl who's like, I'm not like other girls. I don't have friends that are girls because they're all bitchy. And I'm just like, I feel like you need to broaden your horizons, lady. Scan goes down to the Zerg base, probably checking for that hive. He already knew it was Ling Baneling, so... I mean, maybe there's a Spire, but that seems like a very poor idea against Phoenix. I'm just saying. So probably more so checking for the hive timing. That's a good idea. The next step of Protoss versus Protoss is, of course, going to be the Mothership, and then on your way to Carriers or Tempests. If you haven't lost the Phoenix War by now, or won it, I guess, to... Oh, speaking of, hold on here. 22 to 25. Zess is winning that fight. Then you're just going to advance on to the next best thing. Now, the Mothership is going to cloak both partners. Both players, right? That's a nice little benefit. So maybe the Terran army only looks so threatening, and then suddenly there's 5 more tanks that are hidden. Banelings did collide into a decent amount of probes, but +2 Baneling's not done for Solar. He prioritized Carapace this game. Decent amount of Zerg creep cleanup, something that Solar was missing in his last 2v2, but on point this game. It's got extra queens even. Did you watch Yumi Her? No, I have no idea what that is. I'm not scolding anyone, it's more just like talk. The guy was kind of memeing anyways, just being funny. Off of creep might not be a great idea. But that is a sizable Zerg army, so it could certainly take on innovations. Oh, that was Solar. That was Stats' Mothership. In it goes. Scan does reveal the army, but there's still a little bit of problems going on as the Phoenix War might be going in favor. Actually, I have no idea what it's going in favor of. Well, the ground army gets won by the Zerg, sure, but what is the Phoenix War going like? Oh, it's going in favor of Stats, damn it. I'm saying Solar. As Solar types a laugh in chat. That absolutely went terrible for Innovation and Zest. They are going to lose this game 100%. The Phoenix count is just too damn high. 16-2. I don't know if that mothership was really the reason that they won, but oh, it complicated things for surezies. Well, that's it. That is it. The thing is, Innovation might be able to recover, but Zest will almost never recover. And Innovation's not going to recover here. Tanks is simply going to be lifted now that his partner is no longer able to help him. And in one fell swoop, a very even game gets turned into a 2-2 score. And that ties things up in the grand scheme of the best of 7. Now we go to the all-kill format, where... Oh my god, how do I do this now? For Team Innovation and Sue can play. Zest is now, he's out. He lost in the first 3 games, and then he also just lost the 2v2, so you done, kid. And then for Team Stats and Solar, who won? I've lost track. Well, they can pick from anyone now because they won the 2v2, so it doesn't actually matter. So, the point is they can pick from anyone. But the guy who won was Solar, that's right. Ow. I'm actually going to play an ad break now while we got some time. So I will see you guys in 2 minutes, assuming that ads even work. Yeah, right. Welcome back, guys. We don't have the lobby ready, so we really missed nothing. You know, by now, usually the sun's out. Like a typical cast. Sun's not even out. Yeah, talking about chat. I'm pretty sure banelings only do ground damage. They never ever do air damage, even if they're lifted. That's something that people have said it should be the case, but it's not. I'm pretty sure. I think people are kind of upset that they still do, because like you've seen I'm pretty sure I've seen situations where Phoenix will lift it on a mineral line and be like, oh, I saved my probes, and then it explodes, and like, oh, I didn't save my probes. Ah. I was like pretty sure about that. Like a solid 99.9. Solid. I think Zerg should be able to transform overlords to huge airbanes. Well, they are filled with gas, so send fire at it, probably burst. If only every unit and every structure in this video game would act like it would in real life. Am I right, guys? It'd be so fun. How about no? How about we just, like, purge that a little bit? Little bit. Just a little, like, slap on the wrist. No. What did he say? Nothing terrible. Just a little, like, you know, maybe don't do that. I don't know what we're waiting for. They do have to pick both their players. Ryung's in a lobby, but Crank isn't, so I don't know. You got any predictions for BlizzCon? I haven't really thought about it much. Haha, just kidding. Yeah. Sure. And that's where I'm like, maybe don't. You know? I'm not sad, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. If you fill an overload with Banes and it dies, should it not just be the biggest explosion ever? Who are the players? Well, there's 2 teams, and I don't want to say all their names again because I've already forgot. I don't know who's coming up next. We still are waiting on that one. Are you going to BlizzCon? I'm attending, yeah. I think the group games are hard. You mean that they aren't a shoo-in for first and second? There's no obvious choices? As I said, I haven't really looked into it. Everything alright? I mean, you turn on the stream and watch me not in game, doing nothing for 2 minutes, and you're like, oh man, I need to know exactly what's happening. I know you have good intentions, but there's nothing happening. The final's gonna be ZVZ, Cyril versus Dark. ZVZ is fun with the right players. And at least it would be a Korean versus foreigner storyline, but let's be real. You don't get Rain or Cyril CVZs every day, so that'd be dangerous. I hope there's a Terran in the finals. Because I'm biased, but also because it's the best matchup. Ah, we have a lobby. I want Zest to pick up the pace. Well, he's not at BlizzCon. Oh, yes, he is. That's right. Shit. I was thinking of last year. Yeah. Yeah. Some players look better than others in these online tournaments leading up to BlizzCon, but you never really know. People always, you know, there's people who better perform. Wrong lobby. And offline, certainly there is some amount of hiding what you're really doing this close to the start. I mean, seriously, guys, like, groups are being played in a week, basically a week. The Koreans are going to start flying out soon. You know, make sure they don't have any jet lag when it comes to play day. There's a rehearsals day. They usually come in, I think, Wednesday. And that means they leave Tuesday. Korean time, I believe. So it's happening soon. Oh, because also, yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah, BlizzCon could just be like a full, like, 2-week event. Like a real 2-week event. Where there's, like, a ton of best of fives and an even, like, longer format. Obviously, people want that. But it's an extra day on a broadcast is an extraordinary amount of money. What is the best matchup? Terran versus whatever. TVZ, I think, is the most classic best finals you can really ask for. Of course, there's been 4-0 stomps in TVZ. I'm not saying it always gives the best games, but I think it appeals to all the right markers. There's someone named Bogus in the chat, but it's not innovation. TVT is so boring. I disagree. But I'm also just not even considering TVT as being an option for BlizzCon Grand Finals, guys. Let's be real. Let's just laugh that one off. Actually, I guess it could be. Maybe TY and Maru face off again, but I don't know. Like, they had an amazing finals. I think TVT can be very interesting. I think TVT can also be interesting. I just think it's less likely to be. Damn it, I'm so used to watching Rifkin's camera. All right. Bit of a long gap there, but we are finally back into the series. In the bottom left, we're all tied up 2-2 now. Coming out for Innovation's one-man team, it is Sue. In the top right, as the blue Protoss for Splice and Selenis in the Bugs, it is Stats. Do you think Koreans are worried about Cyril? I mean, they said that they are, so don't have to ask my opinion. I can't wait for BlizzCon to be over so I can get hyped for Home Story Cup. I'm pretty excited for it. I'll be attending Home Story Cup, not casting. I realize there's always that assumption whenever any caster goes somewhere that when we say we're going, we mean we're casting, and that's just... yeah, it needs to be explained, I guess. And then right after Home Story Cup, I'm going to Paris again, so that's fun. PvZ is a very balanced matchup. I guess it's balanced, but I don't find it nearly as exciting. And that's all, you know, that's very personal bias, but there's actually been polls taken from various numbers of people, from hundreds of people to thousands of people, on what they think the best matchup is in StarCraft, and TVZ always ranks #1. Even at times where it's severely imbalanced or one particular strategy is massively popular, like Mass Muta and Heart of the Swarm, it still was picked as #1. So Data, bitch. Not that I actually have those polls on hand, I just know they've been taken. Paris, for what reason? Vacation. People just, like, really think... I don't know. You guys, I feel like you gotta give us more credit. People who go to events. You know? Either we intentionally drop a hint and we're kind of cheeky about it, where I'm like, well, I'm going to Paris for some reason, guys, and that's kind of like the tell that we're going somewhere, you know, for some more important reason. Or we're just like, yeah, I'm going to Paris. In which case, you should probably just assume that they're not hiding anything. Adding BaseTradeTV does not help. Once again, I have to note that as I'm solo casting. Well, it'd be really weird of me to bring my mom to cast Nation Wars for a single week in Paris. I'm just throwing it out there, guys. Anyways, regular ZVP, so not much to talk about. We have a Stargate opener for Stats. Now, he didn't have a particularly good-looking ZVP prior to this, so it's a little surprising that he was sent out. Although, I guess they both didn't know who was going to be sent out for this first game. So maybe a little bit unlucky then? We'll see. So can you say something about the game? No. Jesus. You know what? Sometimes I'm just like, come on now. But now I'm going to be like, no, that is so stupid. That's a very dumb thing to comment on. I've been talking about these players and this team league for now 5 games. And nothing happened in the first 3 minutes. And you're like, oh, excuse me? I want to know exactly what's going on with my ears and not my eyes. Can you just, like, come on? I'm just like, no! But I won't time you out, even though I'm very frustrated with you. So as I was going into talking about the game, I said Stargate opener, Phoenix first. Stats had some trouble. Blah, 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 blah. Sue goes for a pretty well-timed lair. What was it, like 350 or something like that? So if it was a follow-up of like an Archon drop, which it's not, Stats be Stats, kind of plays similar ways game to game, he would have Overseers, but we're going to be a lot more worried about this Triple Oracle thing. Triple Oracle didn't end up being the key to victory for Stats, mostly because he didn't win, so there's no key to victory if you don't win. But there were some really cool moments that could have happened, right? Like, he could have done more drone damage, maybe, if the Queen positioning wasn't nearly as good. And he could have had better stasis traps to help out, because he had, like, 5 at any given time. So that's something that could happen again. Sue is going to go into the classic Ling Bailing Hydra, but he did get... I saw Burrow? Oh, it was speed. My bad. It was purple. Whatever. It would have been cool to see Burrow, but I would not have known what it was really for. Oh yeah, just speed finishing up. And so yeah, classic thing going on here. Now, what is important to note, as I see Oracle's trying to do damage... Oh wow, everything got out. Is that there are no evolution chambers. And when there's no evolution chambers, you know, past a certain point, past that early +1, past the regular +1, you gotta start wondering, when are they gonna start really producing units? When are they gonna stop droning? Are they gonna go for a 4th base? Well, we have our answer. Sue is building nothing but Hydras right now. And while he went up to a solid 57 count, then it's up at like 50 or 55, that is going to be a potentially solid engagement coming up here. We still have those Lings on the other side of the map, maybe perhaps ready to turn into Banelings, even though they wouldn't have speed. Oopsie daisy. One Oracle does go down. All of them are so injured, that makes sense. They aren't really scouting a whole lot. That was, I think, one of the problems in that last PvZ that Stats played. So they're kind of missing on how much is being made. They're not necessarily seeing the 4th base timing either, or lack thereof. Now we have some more drones being made. There is the attack. There we go. It's really bad that I want your mom to cast with Jeff. I mean, Jeff is a very nice person, so he'd probably just be really respectful. Here comes the attack. There's not a lot of sentries. In fact, there's no sentries. So even though Stats tries to split, all the Zealots just get caught by the Banelings. The Adepts try and split, but also means they were attacking the Meteor Hydras, and there weren't a lot of Archons to fall back on. Stats just completely blinded by this attack. He didn't have any knowledge of it on the way. The last second knowledge was just 2 last second, and oh, I don't think Stats saw that, but we did. Ho ho ho! Sue absolutely destroys Stats in even more convincing fashion than the last PvZ. Stats. Oof. Oof. What's going on there, buddy? So that puts Innovation's one-man team back up in the lead 3-2-2. And that also means that... Wait, who's available now? Stats just played. So Dark is available? No, Solar's available. I think? I don't know. We're gonna find out! Stats is playing so bad recently. Maybe it's all a front, man. He's like, oh, look how bad I am in all the matchups. Look how much I did out of proxies. Man. And then inside, boom! BlizzCon appears and he has all the 6 strats. These guys are quite close with each other. I guess I should put that disclaimer out there. And they've kind of been jabbing back and forth. Like, Stats was typing things in the 2v2 that probably weren't compliments. Or if they were, they're sarcastic. So Sue gets some revenge by mana hatching. Like, it's all in good fun. Thank you for the 300 bits. I can hear this now that I have OBS up. It's running Twitch alerts appropriately for me. Turns out Oracles don't do very much. They actually, I mean, a lot of the issue in that game was that the Oracles weren't scouting. You know, it's kind of like Zest had the same problem with his Archons, right? Like, they were doing an okay amount of damage. They were being kind of pesky. But they didn't see there was no 4th base. They didn't see the army being made. They didn't see the army being turned into banelings. So he had a very last-second knowledge. If he had more knowledge, if he kind of started to get like that feeling of like, hold on, like how many drones is this again? Like, what's going on? There could have been shield batteries. There would have been a pre-split. He might have invested into sentries for force field, which could have really helped in that ramp. I'm going to actually blame the lack of scouting more than the 3 oracles, although I feel like whenever I see 3 oracles in any matchup, I don't like it. I know it can be powerful. It just is, no, it's delicate. Ah, Korean server lag. It's great, isn't it? Okay, so we are in a ZVZ to potentially end it all. On the top left, his team is up 3-2. It is the red Zerg Sue. Styrion. In the bottom right, as the blue Zerg, it is Solar for Infinity Gaming. Also, the last hope for Solentus and the Bugs. If he wins, he continues to play for the ace match. If he loses, well, that's it. That's how Best of 7 works. ZVZ has been kind of funny lately in the Korean scene. Sue is guilty of going for the drone pool on Lost and Found, along with many others, it feels nowadays. But it's Parasite as the forced map, so it's not really... I would not have expected it on this map, and it's not happening on it either. But it's been very aggressive. Korean Zerg versus Zerg is just really fun, generally, as it is a lot about the... I don't even say a lot about the Lings, but it's definitely a lot about the all-ins and surprise Lings. ZVZ in Europe's kind of turning, I feel, to being aggressive, which is great, which I love. You know, Rainer, Lings, clever Muta builds, hidden roaches, stuff like that, but Korean ZVZ has always been the most action-packed, I think. And I hope we see that again. I hope it happens here. Parasite might be the longest map we have in the map pool, but that doesn't mean much when you have speedlings. which I assume both of them will get to. They both open up with that gas. And we'll see around the third base timing. I don't remember stats being good at online tournaments rather, before GSO versus the world. That was my point, actually, earlier. Is I made, like, you know, he wasn't that good online versus anyone before GSO versus the world. But then there, he had a very good performance, so you never count this guy out. It's Korean ZVZ, but it's the most fun ZVZ. Why would you be upset? What exactly is Solar's style? Mostly macro. I guess you can say that much pretty fairly. And other than that, I think he can play into Roaches or Ling Baneling like anyone. He's not really a trickster or an all-laner most of the time. Europe got the best Zerg in the world right now? I think I agree. And I believe Lambo agrees as well in his recent interview. European Zergs are better. So we have a Baneling nest, but it is being thrown down. Oh, no, sorry, it's right there. I'm blind. Sometimes if it's thrown down in the main, there's kind of like maybe there's an attempts to hide it, you know, but the general assumption when you both go for speed openers is that you're both going to go for Baneling nest. Now, what you can do, and what Solar seems to be doing here, is you don't go for the Baneling nest, you kind of skip that, you pile on a ton of Ling pressure, and then you go into Roaches. So you kind of skip that step that seems so important, but honestly can be skipped in the right scenario. The problem with a style like this is that if Su absolutely just dominates the defense, right, like one Baneling kills all of Solar's Lings, well then Solar is in a world of trouble. Because even though he can make a decent amount of Lings to compare to Su, you just really can't compare to Ling Baneling versus pure Ling. But Su, he doesn't seem to really, well, definitely not now. We see a lair on the way. He's not focused, or his intention is not to do any type of attack. If there was an opening, sure, you always want to try. But his intention is just to save his third base, and then we'll see what he does with the lair. Does he add on a Spire? Because that's kind of what it feels like right now. No Evolution Chamber, no Roach Warren. There we go. Sometimes you see if they're meaning to go into Roaches, they actually add a faster Evolution Chamber to at least start the +1. But all right, so Roach Warren it is. Evolution Chamber probably sometime after. Solar has gotten away with not getting a Baneling nest. Did a decent amount of damage to the hatchery, and probably most importantly, forced Su to react. So Su did not get ahead in drones at any point, although he is now trying to initiate that counter. The Roaches are already here. There's that little gap of time where if the Ling counter was faster, there's only 2 Roaches, then Solar's out of luck. But that wasn't this game. So Evolution Chamber comes down for our Blue Zerg, as well as the lair now on the way. It is for a Spire, you tricky boy, you. And I feel like, while this could have been just a change of plans, it also is like, well, that might be one of the reasons he didn't get an Evolution Chamber. He also kind of slapped that Roach Warren down in a bit of a hurry, so it's not a wall over here. And does Solar read into it, or am I reading into this too much? Solar is trying to get scouting done. He sees just a single Roach here. Not really a, you know, it's even if there was an Evolution Chamber at the front too. Let's not forget, like, it could still be a Spire. Plenty of Zergs go for that kind of sneaky Spire off of this, that, or the other. But it is one of the faster Spires you can get. So Solar won't already be comfortable on, you know, 3 bases. No, or 4 bases is what I meant. But on 3 bases, he is going to go for the Nidus Worm. Now, this is a little funky because he goes for the +1 missile, but he might even cancel that. He might have some feeling that it is a Spire, you know, Evolution Chamber, but yet he sees a lair type deal. Or maybe he just thinks that this is going to be a perfect time to hit someone who's either macroing or teching. Now, Su is kind of doing both, so this might be the worst case scenario for our Red Zerg as he ducks into the main base. He does not see the natural. He doesn't see anything too suspicious, really. He even sees the Evolution Chamber is so wiggly. So everything points to a regular game, but here comes the Nidus Worm now. A little distraction over to the left side, but the Nidus Worm not being scouted on the right side. No overload over there. 6 meters are now on the way. A single Spine Crawler is coming down as well, and Su does have the capacity to make Roaches, but does he have enough? The Mutas maybe go around everything and try and snipe the Nidus Worm as the Queens come forward. They're going to want to use the Transfuses on each other or on the Roaches. Solar has brought forth a couple of Spore Crawlers, realizing the Spire was in play. Building those Spore Crawlers can definitely help out, but does Sue have the upper hand? He has a lot more drones, so if he takes care of this, he will probably win, despite the +1 that's on the way for Solar. That +1's not going to help out here. Even the Bane's had a couple of nice hits, and Sue, I think, by not really investing everything he had into a Spire, by skipping that +1 missile, he had enough to get enough roaches, and that is it. GG. Sue takes... and we'll take the entire series for Team Innovation one-man team. Way to go. Parasite's long? I'm pretty sure it's the longest map we have, base natural to natural. Am I wrong? Did I do that wrong? Is Sue not... Is it a best of 9? Is it best of... What's going on here? Do we make this lobby because? Shit, guys. Have I just been, like, talking incorrectly here? Two, 1, 2, and then it was 2, 2, and then 2, 1, 2. Alright, before everyone gets hype, we do have another lobby up, and... Is it a best of 9? See, Wikipedia, I think, might have said best of 9, but then I could have sworn Olivia said it was best of 7. Of course it is, says the random shitter in chat. Get the fuck out. Well, it is going to be, so best of 9 means that there's only one person left, right? It's going to be Dark. So Dark's the last hope. As, yeah, Olivia was just, she was just incorrect. Which doesn't happen often, so we'll forgive her. But it is, in fact, a best of 9 out of best of 7. Wikipedia was right in this regard. And that means that Sue was not taking the ace match there. The other team still is on last point. So Sue could just complete it all. Why is she so savage? I mean, I thought it was funny. I feel like sometimes, like, I'm very clearly being over the top, right? And then people are like, she's so mean. And I'm like, wow. Wow, I'm the one that's accused of being a liberal social justice warrior? I'm the one that's accused of that? Jesus. Anyways. So let's fix that scoreboard then. I don't know if I'm doing this right. It is this many. It is that score. In the bottom right, as the red Zerg, he is Sue. In the top left, as the 12 pulling blue Zerg, it is Dark. And he really is the last hope of his team, Celentis and the Bugs. Really. Trust me now. I know what I'm talking about. So going for a 12 pull, no gas. So just an opener to try and kill Sue's hatchery, of which Sue is most likely going to do a hatch first. And that's exactly what he does on 17 as well, not 16. So kind of, you know, sort of an ideal setup for Dark, but it always comes down to that micro decision making. You can get a religious now. I just am hitting all the right marks. Uh, 18 gas, 17 pool, that's all the good stuff, but Fracture being a very short map, these Lings of Dark will get across the map easy peasy, lemon squeezy. They'll just be right on top of that hatch before you know it. Sue will also be able to know that it is a just pure pool, no gas build, because his Overlord's going to get here so quickly. He'll be like, oh, that hatchery timing. So that's like, you know, the give and take, I suppose, of a map so small. The trade-off, I guess. Now, this Overlord doesn't actually see the Lings, so that's a little awkward. If it just kind of like move a little bit to the north, just a little bit to the north, a little bit to the north. Oh, okay. I would have seen him, but instead, Sue, and this is not about physical preparation because there's not much you can really do at this point. You either have like started an Overlord, started the pool, like whatever, what have you, or you haven't. So you're just waiting for that pool. But in terms of like mental preparation, I think it helps a little bit. And speaking of mental preparation, there's the hatchery scout very soon here. Sue has to take this seriously, has to kind of assume that it's the full might, the worst case scenario. But he also might just be planning on, now that he sees the hatchery almost done, basically, he might just go for the counter attack. Now, it's going to be awkward because Sue didn't have speed on the way, can't afford speed, and a Baneling Nest. But he might not want to cancel this because, well, you're going to get a Baneling Nest anyways, right? Looks like his intention is to take the hatchery again, and at a certain point, you're just going to have to with Zerg. You don't have enough larvae off of one base to support anything but, like, roaches, I guess. I do like that he canceled the Spinecrawler, though. It seems the best bet. And there is speed now on the way. Now, I think Sue definitely wants to get that hatchery. He also definitely wants to stop the Lings from scouting the Baneling Nest. Dark doesn't know how severely Sue was reacting to that, except that he saw a Spinecrawler. So... Now, Dark shouldn't be just, like, in a complete sense of security. That would just, I think, be, like, way so not good. Is to be like, oh, he's never going to attack me. But it is still nice to be able to hide that Baneling Nest. Overlord is sniped, but Sue's going to look for some revenge. Currently just on regular slow Lings. Dark might be thinking he's very secure. But there are speeds on the way. Banelings are on the way. Another great way to follow up a build like that, what Dark just did on this map, is to go for the Roach Evolution Chamber wall off. So you're not going to have your own Lings or Banelings, and, you know, the Banelings can still crash through this, but a Queen takes something like 10 Banelings, 12 Banelings, I don't even know, something insane. And then these are not low health structures. So unfortunately for Sue, he just can't really do anything with those Banelings. It ends up being a costly little investment, one that he probably should have canceled once he realized that it was a hatchery. Fracture has, by far, I think, the smallest... I mean, really, of, like, even previous map pools, this is one of the smallest chokes we've had. But we have a lair now on the way for Sue. He could have also tried to play into, like, a third base and done the typical way of playing off of seeing someone go for roaches, but it's such a weird game now, right? He had his natural, taken down. He made a bunch of Lings that ended up not doing anything. It's a very small map, so all of a sudden they have 12 roaches coming across the map and you're not prepared. You're probably not gonna have enough time to be prepared, so it's kind of a weird game to just be like, oh, I can get a faster third base and, well, it'll be all fine. So I don't know, it kind of feels like without a Roach Warren coming down, Sue is planning another Spire, but that's even more dangerous, right? To go for a Spire and on a short map where you were the one that took damage. We only have a third gas, not a fourth gas. Ling's just keeping track of whether or not roaches are being built or sent out. It is a Spire, so eventually we'll see the fourth gas. Sue is going to have a... Ooh, not something you usually see here. This is going to be great for keeping the army back at home, even for like another 5 seconds, as well as for getting some scouting. Because right now, Dark could just be holding up 12 roaches over here, and he would never know. These Lings are not only going to get into the mineral line. Oh, those are the Banelings, my bad. They also are going to be trying to cancel any third base that comes down. Now, you can tell it's an Overlord drop, so I'm not sure what was really... I guess he was hoping there would be no Overlord over here, and that's just incorrect. So the Banelings are going to have to unload and then be controlled. There we go. Not so sneaky. Not as sneaky as Sue was hoping for. It did draw the army back. Not that it was really planning on attacking, but that's something. Spineclaws are coming down. This Overseer knows... It doesn't have to see the Spire to know what's up. Doesn't even have to get in the main base. It sees a lair. It sees Spineclaws at the front. No Roach Warren. That's 4 gases. Like, that's all the information you really need. And, it might be too late for Dark to initiate the attack. It seems like he thinks so as well, so he's going to keep most of his army at home. Sue, I guess, is going to have to finish his third Spinecrawler, even though maybe he could cancel it. It just feels a little too unsafe. The Muta's... Ooh, gets this queen. The Muta's going to be really interesting. It's very rare to see 2-base Muta nowadays. Nowadays, plural. But it does... It does give you a lot of map control. And because it is so early, the creep strat isn't quite over to third base. There's not a lot of queens. The Muta count hopefully can grow from a okay 6 or 7 to suddenly 12 and then 18 by the time Dark has Hydras. Like that, the snowball effect, if you live, can be very real. But then there's the trade-off where your economy is really not the strongest, and if you cannot do any damage and get that snowball effect, then they just are very comfortable with what is becoming an increasingly better type of army. Also, kind of sad news for Sue is that he chased that Roach over to his hidden base. But that is not so much, it's like hidden, but it's also almost like the Brood War mentality type thing, where since he has the map control, and you'd have to wait for Hydras with speed to actually engage or go off of creep away from your bases, you're probably not going to go after that base. So while I think it was probably supposed to be hidden, it's also just something that Dark can't really do anything about anyway. So I like it. Thank you, ShuklinTV, for that 5-month resub. That is a lot of queens, and if there's a Nidus Worm, things would be getting really spicy, and that might still be the intention of Dark. You'd have to like slap it down really soon. I mean, either we're gonna have a Nidus Worm or a Hydralist Den, and that's something that Sue also is gonna be very careful of, is like, okay, it's a lot of queens, they could do a lot of work. But I said that the Roaches could not do anything about this base. I was wrong, as Sue loses track of the Roaches, engaging with the queens like he was. There's no drones over here to kill, and Sue has a third base regardless. Well, spoke too soon. Can you save that? These Mutas almost have +1, and they're at 15. That's a very solid count, so okay, yeah. But now, all of a sudden, through the middle of the map, that creep spread doesn't take too much of it to get across the middle. Queens are on the almost front lines. Spineclaw is being moved over right now, but is it too late? Sue not quite seeing the army. That was a perfect distraction. Ended up not being worth saving that base. Spineclaws don't even get to roots. The Roaches just stopped them, and while the Muta count up to it a solid 19, it's up against 12 queens with a lot of transfused energy. So not even needing a Nidus Worm on such a small map. That's the way to do it. Now, if this had been seen in the middle of the map, there's a lot of complications, right? Like queens and their slow butts walking off. Maybe they get a couple sniped. Spineclaws are obviously in position, too, if he saw the army coming. But I don't know, man. This might be it. Oh, no transfuse on that one queen. That is a good start for Sue, but I really think he needed the spine crawlers or even just a handful of lings to help out. Transfuses are almost gone for the queens, so they are starting to die out here, but the Roaches are now going to just rampage to the rest of the bases. Third base is already killed. Fourth base now being killed. Dark has absolutely won this game, even though Sue has his army left over. It's just not enough. Mutas will not bring him back from this game. GG. GG. Now, the spine crawlers are rooted. That probably still isn't enough, but maybe he may have been able to make even more spine crawlers. Maybe he would have made lings to kind of get better surrounds than the queens earlier on. A lot of what ifs there, but that was a really cool little ploy by Dark. Either he grabs the base and says, well, at least I got something, or he does what he did, which is get his army across the map without being seen. So Dark kind of feeling like the best player on Slowness and the Bugs, even though Solar's also been carrying himself too. Really, this is a roundabout way of saying stats need to get good, but it's now going to be innovation? Did innovation already lose? Oh my god. Time is a concept, you guys. Yeah, it's innovation. Yeah. Just can't be revived. That's, yeah. I knew that. Don't you ever hate it when, like, everyone has this, right? Like, I'm not just being dumb. But especially when you're on carpet with a chair with wheelies, and you need to, like, just, like, kind of go up, like, an inch, and it just keeps going backwards. And you look like an idiot. Everyone has that, right? Confirmed, by the way, innovation. I knew it. I knew. I was just checking to see if you all knew. She said wheelies. They are wheelies. Wheels being, you know, the official professional name, but wheelies being what I call them. Oh, good. Everyone has that problem. I think I used to use the computer in the basement, you know, back when like you had more of a shared computer in the family. And the basement office had the mat, specifically 4 chairs, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. It was never helpful, it felt like. And I always, for a long time, I thought you needed one to have chairs on, like, carpet. It was, like, too dangerous or whatever. And then I just got a chair and a personal computer in my room, and I didn't think about it ever again. But I hate those mats. And considering there's, like, very, like, little amount of room in my room, my entire life is basically in this little space, I would really not like a mat. It's also why I don't use a green screen. That, and I've always been preferable to non-green screen cameras. Like when I watch other Twitch streams, I like seeing the background. I usually like how they frame it too. If they put any thought into it whatsoever. The mat is protect your floor or a carpet, but like, how much damage is it really doing to the carpet? I mean, let's be real here. Floor, like especially like a hardwood floor, I can understand. Right? You know, like, don't damage the hardwood, but, I mean, come on now. My room is pretty epic, thank you. But if I had a green screen, there'd be far less people asking why I never make my bed. See, once I get my own place, guys, it's gonna be such a baller place. There's gonna be, like, framed jerseys of old StarCraft teams and banners everywhere and all the esports stuff that I got. I'm gonna get like display cases for my really cool action figures, statues I mean, not action figures. It's gonna be awesome. Is this right? I haven't done a best of 9 in a long time. Wait. Guys, it's 43, isn't it? Yeah, it's 43. It's 43. I'm just checking you guys constantly, making sure you're on top of things. All right, in the top right, as the blue Zerg, the last hope for Selenius and the Bugs, it is Dark. In the bottom left is the red Terran. He is O Gaming's innovation. Isn't it so cool that he's on O Gaming? I'm jealous. Innovation's a cool guy. And also has been very much so living up to his team name. He's been either solid, taking his wins where you can find them, or he's actually carried through in the all-kill format. So we'll see what he does here. Has to take out Dark, and then... Wait, that's it, right? Yeah, he has to take out Dark. Sorry. If Dark wins, though, he has to take out someone else. Yeah. Because Zest can be revived because it's the best at 9. Yeah, alright. Okay, so Dark wins, he take on Zest. Zest being, I guess, because it's a best of 9, they could have put him in Innovation's place, maybe? Or maybe they have to wait till he's the last guy to bring him out because he didn't win his first best of 1. I don't know exactly how that would work, but the point is, Dark needs to win this one, and then even one more, Innovation would just have to get rid of this guy here, pesky little Dark, and that'll be it. He did a great job of taking him out initially with Tyrax into a solid macro game. We're on Lost and Found, which is one of the most solid macro maps we have. It's an old map, it's a solid map, it's also a map where a lot of Terrans have been going not just into like, you know, 3-base cool stuff, but also into like super fast 4th base, which Cure showed us earlier today. Innovation, not so much. Innovation, you don't have to kill Lings. I'm just throwing it out there. Don't want to lose that Reaper. Being too fancy. Room is so clean. It's... Yes, it's clean. Maybe it's... I think it's organized to what I... But it's not tidy. People will say it's not tidy, and that would be correct. Marine follow-up does find an Overlord, but there are plenty of little Overlord spots on Lost and Found, so... If you lose this Overlord, it's entirely on you. Really. There's also one over here, and then there's an entire dead space over here. Hellions coming out for innovation as he gets a really nice full scout into the main base. I mean, seeing in the third hatchery is usually a good indication of what's going to happen, but then to have real confidence, you can get in the main base, see if they still have gas, maybe even get to see if a bunch of lings suddenly pop out from eggs. That's the ideal scenario. So Roachborn is thrown down in the back of the natural. Something that innovation really is not going to scout. He'd have to scout the roaches if they're made, which, you know, defensively I think they will be against the Hellions. Lings try to get a scout in the main base themselves, but denied. Just like we're being hardcore denied. Smooth FPS on the Korean server. Stim, innovation, not really a player to go for mech unless it's super in vogue. And then he builds on it. This Viking will take care of that Overlord. Showed him. Some roaches are being made, but I didn't think this was going to be for an attack. He doesn't even have... I mean, it's a decent amount of supply that he just made for himself. I mean, hey! Could go forward to the attack. He knows it's Hellions. He does not know that there's not a fast tank on the way. And after 6 Hellions, this is becoming more and more of the standard. So he could send the roaches forward, but it's not a real all-in, I wouldn't say. I mean, I would hope that it's not anyways, I guess is what I'm really trying to say here. So we have a single drone being made, but then a lot of lings. The Hellions see the roaches kind of move out, but okay, he does read into that. He's going to build a bunker. The tank's going to end up being a really, really good move. It's definitely a good move against someone like Dark, who could certainly do this, but I don't know if I like this for Dark. I was kind of hoping he was playing a macro game. Decent amount of lings, not just ready to reinforce the attack, but also dealing with the Hellions potentially, make sure they don't slip in and kill a bunch of SCVs. The tank has to be guarded, right? And that's the most important thing right now. So as the supply depot burned down, he's not just going to repair it, he's also ready to body block with the SCVs if need be, because the corrosive bios at this time would just one-shot the tank. Now, a bunker's available, but there's not a ton of production, so the second tank is necessary. He'll feel a lot more confident once that is here, but here come the lings. They're going to get a wrap around on the tank. If the corrosive bios don't actually get it, he might have to just give us a natural base. This might be good enough for Dark as the Hellions tackle the Ravagers instead of being back in the natural base to protect the tank against the Hellions. Innovation question marks. He's like, what, how, why, GG? And Dark, proving why he's one of the best Zergs, ends up taking the game. Despite what was an okay opener there for innovation. If the Hellions weren't being aggressive and were instead back at home, that's a lot of not damage from the lings going down. That is a solid amount of protection. So all you have to worry about is not dying to the Ravager's corrosive biles. But coming back home and just, you know, distracting the Ravagers, not so ideal. It's going to the ace match, and Zest lost his best of one. He's been shunned for most of the rest of this. Most of the cast, certainly the rest of the team league. Dark could just be the key to victory for Slanus and the Bugs. I doubted his builds, but I should have never doubted Dark. Thank you, Taco Stuff, for 22-month resub. I hope Dark gets a phase when he's winning stuff. Well, he got really close to winning a lot of stuff. There really should be a command for explaining to the odd person who comes in and is like, what is Zombie Group doing here? Should have built an eBay, in my opinion. What do you mean, like a secondary wall off? That wouldn't have lasted very long. And you also, at that point, you're taking away pretty valuable minerals from like marine production and tank production. So I'm assuming that Zest is the last guy to come out, but I could be wrong. This could be one of those like, no, you can never revive him, so you just have to revive someone else again. I don't know. No, to prevent the Ling run-in. No, I know what you meant. Yeah, I know what you meant, but a secondary wall off I don't think would have actually helped. He either does it so quickly that he can't even afford to make marines or bunkers, or he does it at the last second, in which case the wall is very weak and gets torn down anyways. Wait. What is happening? He's just trying to answer the fight. Well, really, I think it's very important that the Hellions are back in the natural. Maybe I didn't emphasize that enough. And that might still not hold. But if the Hellions are in the natural, the Lings, if they try and run into that choke, get barbecued. Or hopefully still die before they reach the tank. And while the tank gets taken out by the corrosive biles, he would have had a second tank on the way. And he would have had at least a bunker to try and hold with like 2 marines, but still. Against, once you get rid of the Lings, Roaches and Ravagers really aren't that hard to clean up. Unless things have already spiraled out of control, that is. I don't think that's not the answer either. Obviously, you wouldn't have a Banshee, so you can't really react to that with a Banshee. And not making any more Hellions, not making as many Hellions as he did actually would have been counterintuitive, because the Lings are really the problem. Wow, I just have never. I feel like I'm explaining it, and I feel like my words are just like falling on deaf ears in the chat. This isn't just like. This is partially theory crafting and also partially how we've witnessed holds before at Naturals, guys. The Lings are almost always the most complicated part of that holds. And if you have Hellions all alive and healthy shooting at them, the tank might still go down, as I've been saying, but you have a second tank on the way, and you still have the high ground for your marine production. Okay, I just feel like I'm saying these things and like 3 people are still like, well, if you had this thing. And I'm like, I don't know. They're also like, as we wait to understand what's going on here, because I don't see another lobby being made. I don't. What? Is that Innovation might have gone for the bunkers, thinking like it could have been an attack, but he didn't actually see the roaches. So there might have been some like mental kind of like, well, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. Like, I don't know. Wouldn't have really changed very much, I think, if he had even more advance notice. But maybe there is some mental gap there where he wasn't sure it was an all-in. The thing is, like, his Hellions, they saw how many Lings that they could have made defensively. He did get to the 3rd hatchery, but like by that time the roaches were attacking, so I don't know. You check the drone count, and then ideally you just see the roaches come across the map, but the Hellions, yeah. Now the Hellions were enough of a scout. Yeah, he knew. I don't think there was any doubt in his mind that he knew that it was a roach attack. Roach all in. I was just adding to the theory, but I mean, I love you, GV Loxer, but your addition was SimCity didn't help too much either. The wall was too thick, and I'm not sure. You say it was too thick, but then you also say it's full of holes, so I was just like, what? How can a wall be both too thick and full of holes? And how is too thick of a wall a bad thing? BCH could have held that. That's true. The strategy there is actually to go into a battle cruiser. Although this tank would have been earlier and more. I'm done. I'm done explaining this. Am I though? Am I gonna do it again? I might do it again. If it gets an earlier tank and only has, let's say, 2 Hellions in this world that you guys are creating, what else does he have besides 2 tanks? 2 tanks, 2 Hellions, 4 Marines? Do you think that holds the Ling Flood any better? I don't think so. Even if the 2 tanks are shelling away, Dark is still going to commit to that and bust through and get into the natural with a bunch of Lings. So that'll be the last thing that I say. But I don't know what's happening. Like, I thought it would be an obvious game 9, and now I'm just like, what's going on? Well, I'm going to take a 2-minute break while we figure this out, and then I'll be back. Okay, then? Okay, so hello, thank you for that 2-month resub, hard number. I don't. So Alex, the Russian caster, is trying to explain to me, and this does make sense. I just think it's an extremely, like, I've been on board the format so far, guys, but this one actually just throws me for a fucking loop. I don't understand and I don't like it. So this all got pinned on the 2v2 is what's happening, I think, as we see Young not making a lobby. So Stats, Dark, and Solar won. They had 2 revives because they won the 2v2. But because Innovation's team didn't win the 2v2 and Zest didn't win his game, they didn't have another revive. So I guess you could see it as like Dark's team getting a default 9th win. But I feel like I'm not on board with that. It's like so complicated. It also puts a lot of emphasis on the 2v2, whereas previously the emphasis was just another option of revive. This literally pinned a win on the 2v2. And I'm just like, that's really weird. But it's not my call to make. I wish I had kind of understood this better. But there hasn't been a ton of communication. So, yeah, that's how it goes. Congratulations to Dark for winning it for his team by killing Innovation. That's it. Yeah. I've not got confirmation from like Crank himself, but nothing else is happening right now. So I'm just gonna assume that's the case and end the broadcast. So yeah, because Innovation's team didn't have another revive because they lost a 2v2, Dark wins for Slender's and the Bugs. So congratulations, Slender's and the Bugs, for coming back from the losers bracket and winning against Innovation's one-man team. Yeah. All right then. Thanks everyone for watching. Sorry to be incorrect now on 2 different games. Or the best of 7 and then one ended up being a best of 8. Yeah, follow the channel and follow me on Twitter at TG Gaming, Twitch and YouTube, Zombie Grub. Yeah, and I'll see you guys on my stream later today. And then I think the next time BaseTradeTV is casting is perhaps next week, Tuesday maybe? I'm not sure. I know there's a schedule command though, so you could just check out the schedule. Alright then, congratulations. This was fun, guys. Bye.